Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today we've got a huge unboxing from Kizer. They sent me 5 things in one box. I've got this stuff out so we can just kind of pull it out and take a look at it. Really excited. I actually don't know what any of it is yet. We're all going to experience that together. Fortunately, Kizer usually puts the names of the knife on the knife, so we'll figure out what it is. I will link everything individually down in the description so that you can check it out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's go ahead and get into this. So we got a couple of fixed blades. I'm going to move these off to the side. We're just going to kind of go through these one at a time. Okay, right here. I'm not sure that code really means anything, especially considering it's probably more for them than it is for me. So, first off, we have a nice contoured micarta, almost certainly that sort of razor, cleaver, reverse tanto, whatever you want to call it. Purple for the thumb studs, purple for the pivot collar. Full steel liners. We got a nice pocket clip that is able to be flipped over for left-handed carry. What do we have here? Madrick is the designer, and then Nitro V with a crossbar lock. Very good, exactly what I expected it to be. Now, come on. Now, you guys always put the name of the knife on the knife. Or you just... is the designer's name Madrick, or is that the name of the knife? Either way, it'll be listed properly in the description. So, with Nitro V and micarta, almost certainly a budget knife. That is what this should be. Feels very good. Feels very classic. Nothing incredibly new, but still Kizer bringing good quality to the table for presumably a very good price. These are, I would say, maybe a little higher tension Omega springs, and yours will probably come with additional Omega springs. They're just sending me the knife, you know, which it's typically, I think, what they do. But yeah, it feels good, right? Nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy, just typical Kizer. Next up, what do we have? We have, oh, is it wood? Okay, not something I usually expect from Kizer. But this one is also probably a budget knife. Meaning under 75 bucks. And then this one's called the Bulldog. Wait a second, I've reviewed this, haven't I? Almost certainly. Really nice ergonomics. Makes me think of in fact, you can look it up right now, the Hinderer Jurassic. Very, very similar ergonomic lines. Not exactly the same profile, but very similar. Extremely comfortable. Extremely, extremely comfortable. And we've actually seen this profile from a number of different companies, including Sniper Blade Works. I think people would be quick to point out. It's also not that far off from, you know, the curvature and where your hand is meant to sort of melt into place. It's not too far off from like the Borka Stitch, right? Really, really comfortable. They've even added a little bit of jimping up here on the nose. Everything feels really good. Nice large thumb studs. Really, actually super satisfying to deploy with it being a crossbar lock. Those typically don't feel quite as good as your, you know, detent, like your knives with the liner lock and the detent, or compression lock and detent, whatever. We have a polished backspacer, I just noticed. That's kind of cool. Nothing too crazy, but it definitely is cool. What do we have on the inside here? Did they nest steel liners inside of the wood? Yeah, they did. That's pretty cool. So hold on a second. So this backspacer, I've just noticed the only body screws on this are for the pocket clip. So that means that those screws probably, yeah, they go through they must go into the backspacer, and then underneath these scales, given that there are liners, there's going to be additional screws that hold the backspacer to that nearly full, not out this way, but nearly full in terms of the length of the knife. Yeah, you can see it right there. So they're going to go in that way, probably to keep additional body screws or integrity screws from sort of sinking into the wood, because I would imagine the wood's going to compress underneath the screw. So they're trying to avoid that as much as possible. They still have it for the pocket clip screws, but I think you'll be okay there. That's pretty cool. Either way, I would venture to guess that you'll have different options besides wood for this model. And then for the third folding knife, what do we have here? Oh, we have something premium. Probably still reasonable on price though, like not, you know, crazy versus what we see the competition. So this is a titanium frame lock with a milled titanium pocket clip. Wow, that is a stiff clip. Wow. Probably loosen that clip up a little bit might be a good idea. This is something that where this clip touches is superior. This is something that I learned, designing my own knife. You'd think that it should be a no-brainer given how many knives I've handled, but I was very fixated on the aesthetic of it. The point that where the clip contacts the frame, this is superior to mine in the sense that it's not a super pointy sort of triangle. So that's good. So in and out of the pocket, for example, here, totally fine outside of it being tight, but it's also slightly on the relief cut, which is also something that I now, in the future with my own designs, am going to try to avoid. But that's going to be one of those things that will affect some people more than others. We have a thumb stud deployer. Okay, nice, but this is also hollow ground. Just notice, very, very thin behind the edge. What does this remind me of? Oh, boy. Okay, so the flipping action is nice. Also has, yeah, this action is ridiculous. So it also has a little bit of a, like, I always call it like if you have a pile of coins and you drop a coin into that pile of coins. You see what I mean? It's got that real satisfying metallic clank, that ting on the outside. It's really not like almost like you're closing a tiny cash register, right? So we have the Crest S35VN. A little, is it a frog? Yeah, a frog with a knife. I actually really like that logo. Kizer right here, nice satin finish for Kizer. Got a pivot collar, got some ventilation. If your knife gets overheated, that's always nice. I'm kidding. Nice notch, and they've jimped it out all the way behind that notch. So I'm going to say this is a hollow ground sheep's foot blade, very, very thin. Plenty of access to the lock bar there. This is really good. Assuming that this will be priced under $200, I think that this is a really nice knife. Ergonomically, good, nice little choke up spot. Pocket clip is just tight. Doesn't need to be that tight, but otherwise, pretty good. So what do we have for these two fixed blades? These are also going to be budget fixed blades. This is a little, do they call this, am I wrong calling it a Kiradashi? No, they call it, maybe, listen, if I'm way off base, just chalk that up to a brain fart. I don't know what it is I'm trying to refer to, but this is a fixed Quaken in D2. Very chalky coating. I'm not sure exactly what the coating is, but given this is rich light and a chunk of D2, the knife is probably going to be very, very inexpensive. I think we can all guess what the purpose of a knife shaped like this is, but, some people really like that stuff. You have the Molly clip on there. You've got a nice Kydex sheath. Probably pretty easy to carry. There's no guard, though. It's always something that I'm going to assume that this is a self-defense knife. I don't know anything about self-defense, and I'm not going to pretend for a second that I'm an expert on it. It's always been interesting to me that knives that are shaped like this and designed for self-defense don't have some type of guard. I just feel like I want something that protects my finger from running up on the blade when I'm using a knife in a utility setting. Now, I've never been in a setting where I'm trying to defend myself, but I'm going to guess that's a pretty high adrenaline situation. A lot of chemicals running through your system. I would want a guard to do as much work for me as possible. That's just me. You just let me know what you think in the comments. And then this one, almost certainly, I'm going to call that, hunting, skinning, utility, I'm going to guess. And this looks nice. I actually really like this. Nice classic look and plenty of room in the handle. So you're not super confined back here. Looks like we got a couple of tools back here, along with one tool and then options for, your lanyard position, which is cool. This is probably also D2. AEBL, interesting. AEBL, I'm learning about. That is like, if you ask knife makers, especially fixed knife makers, that have been around over the last couple of decades, a massive number of them prefer not only to work with AEBL, but to use AEBL. This is a hyper preferred fixed blade steel. Apparently it is very, very friendly for a knife that you're going to abuse. I am not quite as familiar with AEBL. When I ranked it, this came about when I ranked it as far as how expensive it is to create. I ranked it as lower on the premium scale. Everybody got confused by that because they thought that I was ranking them in terms of overall performance, which of course is relative to the task and what you want out of your knife. But I had a lot of people message me and they're like, you have no idea.
ABL is like God mode stuff for fixed blades, and a bunch of knife makers were telling me like this has been a preferred steel for a long time. So I think it's interesting that Kizer is wanting to work with this stuff. I've never seen a Kizer in ABL. I hope that this is an inexpensive fixed blade, but this is really nice. It looks good. It's got a nice, I mean, that's a kind of a medium edge, like what you'd expect from, you know, a user, like a user fixed blade, or I'm sorry, like a more of a beater, like a not all purpose, but outdoorsy, kind of going to use it hard fixed blade. Relatively thick blade stock. Looks like it's probably between 160, it's probably about 155 to 165 thousandths. Let's take a look. I'm just curious. Yeah, almost exactly 155,000. So there you go. Very cool. All presumably inexpensive stuff. I would expect all of this stuff to be under $75, especially the fixed blades. People are always confused about that, you know, like especially newer people. The fixed blade should cost less. I mean, it's far more capable. Think about what is involved with creating a fixed blade. It is a much more simple process, despite it factually being, in a generic sense, a much more capable object because it is one piece of steel. That doesn't mean that it should cost more, right? If you're comparing the same tier of production, fixed blade versus folding knife, the folding knife is far more complicated to create, especially when you consider all of the tolerances involved with getting it to operate properly. So yes, if you're new, and that's always been confusing to you, yes, a folding knife of the same production quality and tier is going to cost more money. Obviously, there's little variables here and there, but it's typically going to cost more money than its exact fixed blade counterpart. Anyways, nice releases from Kizer. Nothing absolutely mind-blowing, but they're staying in their lane. They're making good quality stuff that you don't have to pay an enormous amount of money for, which is becoming increasingly more important. And as I promised in a recent Knife Guy episode, I'm going to stand exactly where I've always stood on my price tiers, and I'm going to definitely celebrate things that are delivering the quality that we expect at the price that we expect, and not give these companies room to just mark up their products blindly. Very important, I think, now more than ever. So, Kizer, I appreciate you bringing what I assume is continued quality control, continued value to the table here. I'll link these items individually. You can check them out in the description. Please, where'd my card go? I got to stop throwing that thing. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. If you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.